not.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Sharon. Okay, we'll call the commissioner meeting to order, 10 o'clock, June 22nd, 2015. Stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Comment, about 10 minutes. Community update. Any public comments?
Nothing, Sharon? No. Montana Minute, yes.
About 10 minutes?
I attended the public hearing on the building, well attended, lots of good comments. And somebody had mentioned during the night, what about the land tamer building? So I checked in to see, it's 800,000.
Well, that's what I heard, and a search and rescue got home, and they said it was 675, I think is what they said.
Well, I was told a little over 8.
That's what I heard, and, well, that night that it was leaving, another guy talked to me about it, and said that it was, he heard that it was under 800,000, is what he said.
And they've got somebody looking at it right now.
And a question that has to be asked is, should government be taking over prime business?
Yeah,
Real estate? No,
well, and there's more there than we need, that's for
Oh.
darn sure.
absolutely, and it really is prime for a manufacturing business, which would be good for the economy, put people to work, provide jobs, help the tax base, I mean, which helps the individual property tax owner, so,
Mhm.
you know, that's a piece of it that has to be considered.
You have to look
when
at
you
it all
look
angles.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you brought that up.
Montana Minute, I'm just grateful for the weather we're having, and everything looking so green. You know, I was a little worried this winter when we weren't getting any snow. And grateful that we didn't get snow during calving.
Right.
But it looks so green. We were to Marysville Friday night. Everything up there is just as green as a gourd. Even their pine trees. There's a red pine tree in a bunch up there. It was just beautiful. I just
You know, they got a lot of rain up that area that we didn't.
evidently
And same like
because
3/4, they was getting a lot of them big rains that we weren't getting here, but
well,
what,
it's
once we got,
gorgeous.
that's getting us by. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be getting pretty warm this week, so that's
I heard that.
good for the haying, but hard on everything else.
Yeah. And I guess that's probably all I've got right now.
My Montana Minute is going to be again the partnerships in this community, volunteerism. We had Slice of Summer, which was a Rotary project, but we teamed with the school, 4-H, and the Lions to put that on for the community. It was well attended this week. We had a cast party from the variety show, again, just to thank those who had, like Chris Sullivan, who spent a whole week painting the backdrop with Kay Murray and Jennifer Dalrymple, and others. Judy Williams and everything she gave for that. And then all the people that came to that meeting Wednesday night, our volunteers with Search and Rescue, volunteer board members that came in from work.
Mm-hmm.
Our employees here that came in at night again for another meeting to try and fully inform the public again of what this project is. So I just think that one of the greatest commodity we have in Broadwater County is our people. So that's my Montana Minute.
And we do. I think we're very lucky to live where we do.
I agree.
You know, different ones say you go down the street in these bigger towns and, I mean, God forbid if you would say hello to somebody, you know, I mean, and that's not the case here. And when people have fallen on hard times for sickness or illness or financially, people rally around in this community, and I think we're lucky to live where we do. I'm grateful.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of them areas don't even know their neighbor, you know.
No, clue. You know, you'll hear people in these big high rises in apartments, they don't know who's next door, you know. I just think we're blessed. I'm glad my ancestors came here.
I attended that meeting also on the buildings and attended the LEPC meeting.
Couple other things too for the commissioners' community update. We did have the interviews for our emergency plan, that'll be coming up later. We attended city council and public meeting on the building project that we should also talk about a little bit later. Montana Board of Crime Control was all day Friday, and we had the CBA, the contract bargaining agreement meeting with Teamsters, Sheriff, County Attorney on last Wednesday. I think some of those changes will be coming from Aaron, and when they do, they'll be shared with you guys via email.
Did you feel like it was a good meeting?
I felt like it was an awesome meeting. Everybody at the table this year was interested in working together and coming to resolution. Each side had things that they wanted, and each side said, it's just a first proposal, which left an open door for, hey, other side, we're willing to negotiate here. So it was exceptionally done. Aaron with Teamsters is more interested in the big picture, not just the union. The steward for the union was interested in the full department, not just, not just the union. The county side of it was interested also in not only just the county side of it, but the employees. So it was nice that we were each sharing the interest of the other side this time.
Very good.
Yeah, it was really an exceptionally positive meeting for something that has been so contentious in the past.
Is Jamie still the steward?
He is the steward for the deputies. There's going to be a steward for control and a steward for detention.
Oh, 3.
Yeah, because they each have such individual needs, and that's the best way to keep each group being represented through this process.
Question for you, crime control. I see a thing in the Helena paper the other day that prison is only gonna pay $69. Did that come up at crime control?
We got a letter on it, prior to the meeting. I don't remember it being part of the discussion. I did know that from the Mako meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and I sent an email to Lynn to let him know, we're only charging 63.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an opportunity for Broadwater County, whereas it is a hardship on some of the larger counties with larger facilities that are trying to pay back loans. I think it was stated that Bozeman is charging 128.
Really?
Yeah. So, this is a great opportunity for us, and we're so much closer. Yeah, I did send an email to Lynn.
Leonard Wortman was here this weekend at the surprise birthday, there's a surprise anniversary party. And so I said to him, so what's gonna happen to Boulder? He said, it's not gonna close. He said, I can tell you flat out, it's not gonna happen.
Spencer told me too, he didn't think it would happen.
I made that statement at Mako.
Did he?
But they're starting to decommission it already, it sounds like, but, yeah, well,
And I think we all know that there's problems there. I just don't know that they've come up with the right answer to do it.
like
That's,
he said, there's so many of these
Yeah.
people, they're violent, they just can't send them.
That's exactly what he told me. He said, there's some violent people and you can't put them out there. You
They
know,
attack the staff all the time. Yeah, it's a. Need a signature here on, this is from Pilt for heat of the ambulance building.
hi Bernadette,
Oh,
good morning.
You moved.
right, just for today.
No problem.
Go ahead, Sam.
Went up there and the judge was in there. I was like, oh.
I put notes on each of the doors.
I didn't look.
Oh, shoot. I will move.
Creature
to
of
the side.
habit, I just
Hey,
claim.
stranger.
Hey.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, move and second that we pay the
265.07.
That's the new house.
265 for,
Okay.
ambulance, really all in favor.
Aye. Franklin, it appears that the COS reviews have been deleted from the agendas for the last couple of weeks. Seeing that Bernadette is here, I'd like to request that we see her if she has a COS, so she doesn't have to wait unless she wants to.
I don't have a COS. I'm here
Okay.
for the subdivision review at 10:15, but thank you.
You're welcome, that should get back on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah, I don't know how come it's off there. Usually it was standard out there.
Was there a vote on that motion?
No,
Yeah, which one are you talking about now? I'm paying that.
Paying this out of bill.
Yes.
did we
I
vote?
thought you voted. Oh, maybe we
I
got.
think we did, but you know, you call for it again, just to be
Okay,
sure,
I'll call
how's
for
that?
the vote again.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, give me, motion passed.
Oh.
Here's another one, rubber recorder for $12, needs another signature.
Oops, I'll put that one right there.
And I just put a note on, this was passed at the meeting to take this money from Bill.
Perfect.
Okay. We have claims in the amount of $42,557.06.
Move we pay those approved claims in the stated amount.
Second.
Okay, move the second, we pay these claims in the amount of $42,557.06. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
I like it best when we've got payroll, because that means I'm getting a check.
I didn't see any payroll here.
There you go.
Huh?
I said, I didn't see any payroll.
I don't think there is.
Let's see, just a couple of minutes here. Oh, this, from the sheriff's office on this, for, detective and so on. I suppose, there's a lot on there, we just got those. Put that on the next agenda. What's everybody's thinking on that?
Good idea. That'll give us time to read it and digest it.
And I would suggest that we put it with our budgeting, stuff, because this is one of several requests and we don't yet know what the budgets look like. This would probably be a working meeting discussion first, unless of course we want it on next week's agenda. But we've got a request from the sanitation for a sanitarian in training. We've got a request for an employee for the clerk of court's office part-time. We've got a request for another employee for the county attorney's office. We've got this request here,
Health?
and then the health office, yeah, we have a request there. So I would suggest that this being a budget proposal for fiscal year 16 go into the budget, work. And maybe we have a working meeting next week on the budget, that would be
Okay, that's
fine.
probably what we should do.
But we need to know where we're at, you know, money-wise before we can grant anything, in my
And
opinion.
we won't know from the state for a while.
We won't, no, we don't have, information on
Should we
where the
have
bodies are.
a working meeting for them? I mean,
I can't see that.
can't tell the calendar from here.
Are you looking for Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
That would be July 1st.
Already?
Already.
No,
Yeah.
no, I will not
Where's
be
the time
available
go?
July 1st, I'm working on the circus.
And I count the
Rotary.
second, I know.
Helping out Lions this year.
Should we put it right after the 4th then?
I think that'd probably work.
What does that date be?
Monday the 6th or
Well,
Wednesday
if we're
the
gonna have
8th?
this as a working, yeah, what's the Wednesday?
Wednesday the 8th, July 8th.
I'm fine with that.
8th, for some reason, okay.
You think you've got something?
Well, some reason 8th rings a bell, but,
Is it your anniversary?
what's that?
It's not your anniversary,
No, it
is it?
isn't.
Okay.
Got married during hunting season.
Okay.
He did?
Yeah.
I can't believe a guy could do that.
Yeah, I was never around for any anniversaries. I was up guiding. In fact, I was up guiding when 2 of the kids were born.
Really?
He's lucky she's kept him this long.
Anyway,
That's funny. People said to us the other day, yesterday, how'd you get married this close to haying season? Well, we got married, we went on a short honeymoon, we had to get home because of haying.
Yeah, like I said, back then, you didn't start haying as early as you do
No,
now, so yeah.
exactly.
That's what Wally says, how did they get married then? I says, 50 years ago, you didn't start haying as early.
You know, a lot of times you would maybe cut hay to cure over the 4th.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
now,
this year was even earlier.
Mhm.
oh yeah.
Because last year some started early and we had quite a bit of that rain.
Yeah.
Well, Jared is completely done, and we've got a lot of hay down.
Mhm.
And Bob says, if we get decent weather, we'll be done by the 4th.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, I guess we better quit haying.
back to the work at hand.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'm gonna put that down for 8th, the working meeting. Let's see here. Oh, this, I think everybody got this letter in the health service.
Mhm.
Did everybody get that one?
This one?
Oh, no, I don't think that's,
From Bill
Oh.
I don't have that one.
Yes, I did. This is a bill from Public Health, and it says it's past due.
That's another one of those claims that has come to a commission meeting, been taken in somebody's briefcase, into their truck, into another department, and never seen again. We need to start addressing the fact that we keep having bills taken and never returned.
I'll get this to Tammy then, because I think it's out at the silos.
It was one that, I had requested we look at, is it the silos or is it the fairgrounds or is it?
Oh, it's that
both?
water sample?
Yeah,
Oh,
And it is actually all for the silos, but it needs to not just go home with someone, it
Right.
needs to go and stay in the courthouse. If somebody wants to take a claim to someone, they need to take copies.
mhm.
We cannot have this continue. I have 2 more that, you know what, I'll bring them up right now. We have these 2, for, therapy, that the first one disappeared. Tammy finally tracked it down. It took her an extra day of work. We got this follow-up bill for another $100, but it was showing a past due again on the first half of the bill. We got a letter from Michelle saying, go ahead and pay this, we have an agreement in place. This was negotiated without the commission knowing, and yet we're obligated to a point. So we can't be taking
I don't take
these
those claims very easily. And claims that they
Franklin,
go
you
into that.
absolutely did take this. You're the one I'm talking about.
Oh, I know you are, but
Good.
let's see what the claim is. I don't know what you're always talking about something.
Yes, we've got to start following the process. You don't take bills out of the courthouse and lose them.
What reason do I ever want to take a bill for?
You did take it, it's a matter of
I
public
think you probably
record.
wanted to talk to Brenda about it.
Yep, that's exactly what happened.
We'll run past a little bit, we'll go to, back to our agenda here, Nicole, county planner, Jackson Minor Subdivision.
I'm gonna keep this with this so we don't lose it again.
And I forgot the plat. I don't know how I was here early and forgot that. Give me 1 second.
We've lost contracts, we've lost claims, it has got to end. These are legal documents that we cannot just keep losing.
Well, and we can make a copy if we want to take it home.
That's exactly right. Taking the originals and losing them is really juvenile.
Well, this has got a pink sticker on that says it's past due, so.
And what kind of late fees are we starting to look at with these? I mean, that's just inexcusable.
Good morning, pretty lady.
Good morning. Alright, here is the final plat for the Jackson Minor subdivision. I'm here today requesting final plat approval.
Refresh me on that again,
yeah.
please.
Just about 3 years ago, they came in and 2 years ago, I'm sorry, obtained final or preliminary plat approval. This is south of town between Carroll Drive and Mostad.
Hmm.
They had an agricultural exemption in place. It's one lot, one home. They started building before they realized they had an agricultural exemption on the property, so they couldn't continue building until they came in and got subdivision approval, since it did have that exemption. So it's just one lot. The house is already there. They've been living there. The commission signed a memorandum of understanding with these folks that they could continue to live in the home as long as they went through the subdivision process. So, no, we're just here today to final it up and.
How many
get it
acres is it?
recorded. What does it say on there? Just a little over 10.
10.02.
Here's the first item, and I'll read off of my list here. So this is item number 1. That have 2 with it too. I'm sorry, I gave you number 1 and number 2 at the same time. So condition number 1, the applicant shall contribute 1/50th of the cost to upgrade the existing road, Carroll Drive, to Broadwater County subdivision road standards for a number 1 local road. This is the first one that we ever did that on, that 1/50th. And again, the reason for the 1/50th is because a number 1 local road, our minimum road standard in our county subdivision regulations, can allow for up to 50 lots to access that road. So per Susan Swimley's suggestion, also at the time Carla Bossi was the attorney, and I ran it through both of them before I came here for preliminary, and also of course the planning board. That's why it's 1/50th, because potentially that road to that road condition, a number 1 local road, could serve 50 lots. Not because 50 lots will ever be on there, but that's our minimum standard. So we had to charge the Jacksons their proportionate share of road upgrade, which came to 1/50th. So does the commission have any questions on that? I know that's been a little, that's just been a new thing for us to be using. We've also done it with Conrad Minor, which has also received final plat approval. There were 3 lots, they had 3/50ths in any case. Just, that's my little explanation on why 50. So you'll have there for number 1, a bid from BSC Excavating for the upgrade to that road to meet the number 1 local road standards. Also, I have a little sticky note on there. They overpaid their 50th, so that money will then just be applied to either recording or some other method. I think it's $46 over or something like that.
44.
44,
Yep.
okay. So they've paid their 1/50th. There's the bid and the check. Condition number 2, assigned and approved Montana Department of Transportation right-of-way agreement equal or greater than the county subdivision road requirements, which are currently at a width of 24 feet, must be received. Number 2 is a signed and approved MDT approach for Carroll Drive. Jeff DeMars and I spoke about this at length as well, and you know that road's been there forever. This is the approach permit here. Number 3, I have nothing to pass around. So I'll just read it aloud here. But the depression created by the existing development must be graded within the easement to match the surrounding lands. So let me explain what I'm talking about here. There was a depression within this easement here. So here's Carroll Drive coming up from Highway 287 here. Carroll Drive is here, Mostad Lane is down here, Conrad Minor subdivision, which has been given final approval, was here. There was a depression right about in here where some gravel was removed for use on this property. However, with the approval of Conrad Minor, this Loki Lane had to be graded and improved anyway, so I can tell you that that depression has been filled in, because otherwise Conrad's would have never received final plat approval. So I have nothing particular other than an explanation.
You know, you said on that approach in Carroll Drive, wasn't that done years ago?
It was, yeah. Yeah, and so this is just a copy of the MDT approach permit there, that item number 2 that you've got.
Oh, well, this is just a copy of it then.
Yeah, that's
okay.
just a copy of the approach permit. They have met all of those requirements, so everything that you have are the final approved documents.
That's the one that was in '09 then? The one that Catherine Reagan signed.
Is that what it was? Okay, yeah, I don't recall what the specific date was on there.
February '09, I just see it there.
And I believe that even though Carroll Drive was existing prior to '09, that's when the highway did some work right there, and so they kind of cleaned up some loose ends and had
Okay,
these
that-
approaches
yeah.
completed.
And that project had come down through, did that come all the way through Front Street too? Well, whatever it was, yeah.
I'm not sure the distance of it, I just know that it did concern this Carroll Drive approach at the time. The MDT main office could not locate an approach permit at that time. This is my conversation with Jeff DeMars here at the local office, that Catherine Reagan then signed that approach just to complete that file and make all of the paperwork available, so. That's simply just a copy of the 2009 approach from Carroll Drive onto the highway, which is really all this condition was looking for, to make sure they had legal access to the highway.
Yeah, 'cause Gordon Welch was using that for,
Right, for some
Long
time, yeah,
time.
yeah, yep.
and then so did Carroll when they built their
Mhm,
house.
yep, yeah, they've been utilizing it for some time as well, so.
Mhm.
Here's number 4, right? Number 4, a weed management plan for the existing development shall be submitted to the county weed district for review and approval. All specifications and requirements of an approved plan shall be met. So coming around is the signed and approved weed management plan. Number 5 is electronic, so I have nothing to pass around, but number 5 states, the applicants will be required to submit the final plat drawings in electronic format to Broadwater County in ArcGIS, AutoCAD, or MicroStation format. Additional materials may be requested by the county in electronic format to facilitate review of application materials. And as usual, I just keep those files on my computer. Add to my GIS database. Number 6, this is concerning the fire department. I'll read the condition and then we'll talk about that briefly. Number 6, the applicant and the Fire Protection Authority having jurisdiction shall use their best efforts to draft a fire protection plan specifically for this subdivision in accordance with Broadwater County subdivision regulations. The plan shall be equally acceptable to the FPHJ, the applicant, and the county governing authority. The plan shall adequately address the fire risk analysis, all findings of fact, and appropriate mitigation measures. In the event the parties are unable to come to agreement by the final plat submittal, the applicant shall become eligible to provide the per lot cash in lieu fee for water supply as may be defined in Broadwater County subdivision regulations in effect at the time of submittal. So, I don't know Ed's exact wording on there, right there on that page that you've got in front, but
This,
basically,
you want me to read it?
yes, please.
everybody
that'd be-
has it?
Yeah, perfect.
This development is okay as a single-family dwelling. If more housing is ever added, there will need to be more improvements to accommodate the added structures.
We've talked about this before at the commission meeting. If the fire department does not explicitly state that they want something, because this is their plan, these are their regulations, these are not my regulations, these are not the commission regulations, these are fire regulations, fire plans. If they don't specifically state that they want either water, a dry hydrant, or some sort of fire suppression devices, or cash, I have no authority to request that. So I just want that to be made part of the record. These folks, the Jacksons, are not paying the cash in lieu fee of water supply, nor are they installing any fire suppression devices of any sort. Because the fire department, through the chief, have not requested that.
Accepted it as is.
They accept it as is. I assume that that's
So if
exactly
I wanted to
what they
build a
need.
house up there, am I gonna get hit with all that?
There's a
You
possibility.
know, and I'm not,
Yeah,
but
there's a possibility. I don't know. It really is entirely up to the fire department. And that's when we went through and pulled the fire regulations out of the subdivision regulations so it could be a document that was completely owned by the fire department. I will follow through with what they request, but if they request nothing, I'm telling the developer you have to do nothing. So I just want that to be clear. I don't want there to ever be any assumption that because they say no fire suppression devices or mechanisms or anything of that nature are being installed, I'm not automatically charging the cash in lieu of water supply. They have to state that. They've stated that in the past. But the last 3 subdivisions, this one being number 3, have said they want nothing. So,
Nicole, 3 questions for you. The first is this statement binding? If more housing is ever added, there will be need to be many improvements, there will need to be many improvements to accommodate the added structures?
if there are additional improvements, not a shed or a barn or something like that, I can't say that that would be binding. There's no mechanism for the folks to come to the county and say, oh, by the way, I'm building a barn, I'm building a shed. There is, however, if they're building a second house, or as it's been referred to, a mother-in-law house, a dwelling unit outside of the existing main structure. And the only reason we would catch that is if it came through to apply for a subject permit. And then Julie would then get down to my office and say, hey, this is approved for a single-family dwelling, they need to go through subdivision review for the second dwelling, it would then go back to the fire department. Does that make sense, kind of how that would track? But without building codes, building permits, building inspectors, if they wanna put 20 sheds on that property, nothing is stopping them from doing that. And that can't be binding as far as I'm concerned, because how would we know?
Right. So my second question is a precedent being set? Can a subdivider who is charged say, hey, you didn't charge these other 3 people, I don't wanna pay it either?
There's a really, very real possibility of that.
My third question, would you mind talking to Corey about this?
Certainly.
I just think he should be aware, and if this is perfectly fine, and he's not worried, then we don't need to be worried. If there is a conversation that needs to be had, maybe he can help facilitate that.
Okay.
As the legal expert.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, and I think that is a good point. I'm a firm believer, as you all know, you do for one, you do it from all, and that isn't happening here.
Yeah.
But how do you override it if the fire department says you don't need to do anything?
And that's why I'm wondering if Corey, if he has an issue with it, then he would be the one that would go to them, because he'd be their legal coverage, I think, as a county district. And then he could say, these are some of the issues I see.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure, folks like the Jacksons, and then the one that we just did a few weeks ago, the Robertsons, same thing. Robertsons was a 2-lot minor, this is a 1-lot minor.
Right.
We're working on an agricultural tract right now, the exact situation, making it a residential, so it's going through the process. And they're charging them the $1,000 a lot. So I mean, it's, I don't know what makes a difference.
Why, I wonder?
It's what they, you send them a letter telling them what you're doing, and then they send you a letter back and say what's required.
Maybe it's location.
Must be something.
But money can be used anywhere in the district. I mean, I agree with you that maybe it's the location, but still, money is money, and it can all be spent the same. And it's no small chunk of change, $1,000 per lot. If it was in the $100, $200, $300, it might not be worth fighting about. But if I was a developer that knew a subdivision that had just come before me is doing nothing, and I'm being charged $1,000, that might be worth fighting for. That's the only thing that concerns me, and I just want to make that known at this level, that I'm not charging $1,000 because they say it's okay. I have no rights and no grounds to stand on to charge these folks the $1,000 per lot. If they don't say they want $1,000 per lot, I can't charge it.
Bernadette, that other one that you're working on, where is it located?
Near Sand Hill Lane.
I was thinking maybe it was way out, but it's not. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on fire before I move on?
No, thank you.
Number 7 is the plat here. The final plat shall be prepared in accordance with applicable state survey requirements, Montana subdivision and plating exterior requirements, and county subdivision regulations. It's been signed and approved by all parties necessary, exclusive of the clerk and recorder and the commission. So it's prepared up to this point. Number 8 coming around. Number 8, the book and page reference to the restrictive covenant filed with the county clerk and recorder shall be indicated on the face of the final plat. In addition, restrictive covenants, revocable or alterable only with the consent of the Board of County Commissioners, shall be placed upon the property and shall provide for the following. A, notification of potential health risk from radon concentrations, and that such risk can be evaluated through soil tests and mitigated through radon abatement techniques incorporated into structures. B, a notification that all dwelling units within the subdivision should be constructed to specifications which meet or exceed equivalent provisions in the applicable state building code for this seismic zone, which is Zone 3. C, any additional replacement or relocated utility lines shall be installed underground in accordance with county subdivision regulations unless otherwise determined by the utility provided. D, any exterior lighting shall be directed downward to minimize visibility beyond the property lines. E, a waiver of the right to protest to join a special district for the purpose of providing community water and/or wastewater treatment system improvements and/or maintenance. F, a restrictive covenant binding the landowner, any heirs, successors, and assigns, and all future owners of property within the subdivision, agreeing therein to hold Broadwater County harmless and indemnify Broadwater County from all claims, demands, obligations, suits, causes of action, damages, and liability, including the county's costs and attorney's fees arising in any manner whatsoever out of or relating to the existence, use, operation, repair, and or maintenance of the following. Subitem 1, earthquake fault zone and any seismic activity, and subitem 2, water availability. G, all cats and dogs must be restrained, penned, or otherwise under the control of their owner at all times. H, notification of the presence of egg operations in the vicinity. I, each lot shall be maintained in a clean, attractive, and weed-free manner. Noxious weeds must be pulled, sprayed, or cut prior to seed maturity. J, a waiver of right to protest joining a rural improvement or maintenance district for the purpose of road maintenance, mosquito control, or equitably funding parks and maintenance of parks. K, address number shall be clearly marked at the driveway entrance to each lot and be easily identified from the road. L, a notification that lots in this subdivision may be subject to impact fees if in place prior to lot sales. 9A, provide proof that all taxes and special assessments assessed and levied on the property are paid for the current tax year, including the past delinquencies. And you have a tax bill coming around showing they have been paid for the current tax year. And the last item to come around here, 9B, provide documentation showing that the applicant is the lawful owner of the property with the apparent authority to subdivide the same, showing the names of lien holders or claimants of record and the written consent to the subdivision by the owners of the land, if other than the applicant, and any lien holders or claimants of record against the land. And that concludes their list of conditions.
What is this, on 5/28/15? I kinda suspect it's who paid the taxes, but it says Core Logic.
Correct. Their mortgage company paid the taxes, and that's actually what they were waiting on. They had, Ms. Jackson had most of the documents already together, end of April. But since their taxes are paid through their mortgage company, they decided to wait until that was done as opposed to messing with that. They also have a sale pending on this house, and so they didn't kinda wanna mucky up the waters any, so that's the mortgage company.
So are they moving?
It's still in town, but they had someone, they didn't even have their house on the market, and they had an interested person, so. Yeah, kind of neat.
Can't beat that.
Nope. So no, she wants to still build, in the Townsend area, Broadwater County area, but.
That notary date was 12 on there, and I thought, what? But that's when it was done.
Right.
Should we table this until she gets information from Corey? If we approve it now,
Well, if you're asking for my 2 cents, I say no, because the fire department, they've signed off on it. I don't think it's
Well,
fair to
you're
take it
true.
back and say, are you sure, fire department? They've done this before. Ed's been the fire chief for a very long time. They were, most of those folks, most of those gentlemen with the fire department were involved in the writing of the regulations. We've talked about this before. Obviously, they know that they can charge $1,000 per lot. They just have chosen not to. I personally don't think it's fair to Jackson's to hold this project up because of a potential oversight on the fire department's behalf, and maybe they're perfectly fine with
And it
this,
wouldn't pertain to them anyway if something did come up.
Exactly.
right?
So I guess,
It's not their fault.
right,
Right.
right.
I think this issue needs to at least be addressed, but I'm not sure that we can hold Jackson's hostage to it at this point. So for holding up for that reason, I wouldn't support, just on a fairness, issue.
Is that a motion?
I will move that we grant final approval to the Jackson Minor subdivision.
Second.
Okay, so room second, we grant final approval to the Jackson subdivision. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Perfect. And there are 4 copies there. I see 2 papers, 2 Mylars. If you could use the special pen there and sign. At the very bottom there are 3 commissioner lines. So if you could sign.
Sign all
Yeah,
of
on
it.
all 4 copies, please. Thank you very much. And I'll just bring this up this afternoon. So it's there, if that's okay.
You sign one, you'll pass it up. Oh, you gotta use the same pen. You
Yeah,
can't
the
do
same,
that.
yeah, the same special pen. Can I ask you about this credit they have, this $44? Can they apply that to their filing fees if it's in this check here? Is that possible for them to take it out of
We'll do,
One
what's the
register.
check for?
$600?
No, but it's for,
It just says Broadwater County, it's for the road. So it'll have to go to Doug into the
go to
road.
Doug and they'll just give you the access cash and we'll use it, yeah.
Perfect. I just figured that would be easier than having, I could certainly have her write another check, but
No, we can make it work.
let's go shoot it. I thought so. I thought we'd done something like that before where we took it from one to the
right.
other. And today is 22nd. You've got me here for a little bit this morning.
Yeah.
I'm also here for Mike Conkey at 11:15.
Okay, so this is the Nicole Brown hour.
Apparently, yes. I am so sorry.
Don't be, we're not.
Make it as painless
No
as
offense to
possible.
Mike.
Right, jeez.
He was so gracious to come in and ask permission. I thought that was very
Oh, that
sweet
was-
of him. Yeah, I mean, most people would just send somebody in their stead, and that's fine.
Yeah,
But I thought it showed a lot of character on his part to say, you know, come in and ask.
yeah, when he asked me this morning, I said, well, I wasn't at the interview. He said, you just have to be there. Okay.
They were good interviews.
Good, I'm glad.
Okay, 11:45. Nicole
Thanks, ma'am.
continues on.
Thank you. And is it budget first, right?
Yes.
Buffalo. Okay, so we did make a copy of my budget because I'm not really talking numbers today, other than I kind of wanted to start a conversation about funding of my department, also the title of my department. So I'm just going to give you a brief little explanation here of what I'm thinking. So planning department is run on subdivision fees. So fees like this come into my department, and I only get 77% of them. 11% goes to the general fund, and is that right? Yeah, 11% goes to the general fund, 12% goes to the sanitarian's office. So I get 77% of all subdivision fees, both preliminary and final. that's not an infinite number of dollars. This seemed to work out okay a few years ago when we had a lot of subdivisions and my department could stay funded. Now, these smaller subdivisions are probably not going to fund my department much longer. Also, my department is funded, I wouldn't even say half, but a portion of it through state GIS funds. And how that works, I submit a copy of my budget to the sheriff highlighting funds that have spent on GIS services. She submits it to the state then sends a check to the sheriff's office, she deposits that into my account. So it's a planning and GIS fund. Again, not an infinite number of dollars, I don't take mills, and I'm not necessarily asking for mills right now. I'm just looking for maybe a dialogue to come up with an option for my department to be funded outside of just planning funds. I've spoken with other planning departments and I cannot find anyone that is funded solely through planning fees. They are funded through the general fund. So I don't spend a lot of money in the year. I try to keep it, $30,000. I'm only part-time, I'm 32 hours. Try to limit my amount of expenditures, as far as computers or, vehicle, travel, training, any of those things. I try and keep a really, really tight rein on that because I want to be here for a while. I want to be working for Broadwater County for a while. If there's no funds, I may not have a department, I may not have a job. Fully aware of that, I knew that when I accepted this position. But I would like to still be here for some time. Also, along those lines, I would like the commission to maybe consider changing my department title to community development. I know we talked about this last year. My reasons are still the same. Planning has a tone of subdivision. People hear planning department, they hear subdivision. I don't just do subdivisions. I do land use issues, whether that be mapping or roads or not floodplains, but assisting in floodplains, research in the clerk and recorder's office, obviously subdivisions. If there is a land dispute that the county can help with, I'm generally involved in that. So community development and also with Parks and Rec, it just seems to be something that encompasses more of what I'm doing, not just planning. So that's my reason for that.
Are there grants available out there?
There are, not so much for planning that I've been able to find. GIS, there are some grants, but they're very specific, as in buying a new computer, buying GPS equipment, things of that nature. I have GPS equipment. I haven't used it for a very, very, very long time because it's just not been necessary. New roads that go in, I can do sitting on my hind end in my office there because they're short little cul-de-sac roads. I could easily draw them in. So that was the original intent of the purchase of the GPS equipment. It's a unit that mounts to the top of a vehicle. I also have a backpack to where if I need to go out and walk a road or a trail or something of that nature. So as far as grants are concerned, it's more specific to actual purchase of equipment, not for funding of a department. Not many grants that I can find actually fund a person either.
Okay.
So, and also Parks and Rec, there's quite a few grants out there available to Parks and Rec, and I'm looking at those, but I'm just sort of getting my feet wet with Parks and Rec. It's not necessarily a department. I would like to pull it in and have it be part of community development, so I could say community development is all land use, planning and GIS and Parks and Rec and trails. So instead of saying, I do all of these things or I assist all of these boards, I could just be one person, one department name.
That makes sense.
I think it's less confusing also to the public.
Mhm.
Community development sounds a little more helpful. I get a lot of folks that call and say, I'm not sure you're the person I need to talk to, but I have this. And of course you're the person I need to talk to. I'm exactly the person you need to talk to. Whoever sent you to me, great job to them. But I think in their head, they're thinking planning, they're thinking subdivision, they're thinking development, and that's not what they're doing. But that's also not what I'm doing. So, I guess my request is kind of twofold. To consider changing my department name, and also to maybe brainstorm with me and work with me on funding. And I'll do whatever I have to do as far as, grants and, any of that stuff. I'm not saying, oh, here's my problem, fix it. I just don't really have a whole lot of ideas right now on how else to make this work.
No bake sales out front?
I could do this. I really like to
No.
bake.
She's
Quick,
awesome.
quick question. Sanitary, was that 12%?
Sanitarian is 12%, yes, sir, and general fund is 11%.
Okay, Jennifer.
And this is speculation, but I believe the reason that was done is because we had so many subdivisions coming in, you know, the 2005, 2006 era. There's so much money that, you know, obviously, clerk and recorder's office, you know, I know, all of that general fund isn't just going to your office, but they were doing a lot of work on these subdivisions as well. The commission was doing a lot of work on these subdivisions as well. Sanitarian, she's doing work on these subdivisions, and so that's my thought on, I don't know how specifically they came up with those percentages.
Do you get a feel that there's more subdivisions coming now? It's starting
You
to
know,
pick up.
building, it seems, is really picking up. You know, Bozeman is really, really picking up. And I've been watching that just, you know, the last time that we had a huge influx of growth in the south end of our county was because Bozeman was getting so busy. When Bozeman gets busy, prices go up and people start moving north. So I kind of have a feeling.
Question for Bernie. What are you seeing on people wanting to subdivide?
I'm seeing that right now there's a lot of existing lots in Broadwater County and towards the southern end and up here. Number two, as I mentioned before, I think our fees are very high. And so people that do look at subdivision after they talk to Nicole or me, they pretty much decide against it. And I mean, I don't see a lot of movement now. I think if Bozeman, I agree with Nicole 100%, if Bozeman continues to go up, those lots down on the southern end of the county will, because they're so inexpensive right now, they'll get used up, and then that, you know, as soon as there's a need, I think. But I don't foresee that in this summer for sure. Maybe, you know, by next year or so, because we're always a little behind after they get, you know, Bozeman and Helena get going.
That makes sense. Thank you.
We haven't, we've heard from you guys on the subdivision fees. Is that something that we should be hearing, something from the planning board as far as an official proposal? Are they interested? Have they talked about it? What are your guys' thoughts about pursuing a change?
As in a lesser fee for
As,
subdivision?
yeah,
You know, we
kind
have
of a
to-
reworking of the fees.
We've talked about it, but then it comes right back to this discussion, that that's the only funding for the planning department. If we cut that, which we're not getting a lot of fees now, kind of a chicken and the
Yeah,
egg. Do you
exactly.
think if those fees were cut, more people would come in and subdivide and so we'd stay right where we were budget-wise? Or are we gonna cut the fees and end up cutting our own throat because now we have no money to operate on? And so, and that's what the
exactly.
planning board has talked about, that, yeah, we realize we need to lower our fees in order to, you know, encourage development. But what if that doesn't happen? And then we are out of money much quicker than what we had anticipated we would be out of money. So it, you know, it's definitely something that we have talked about at length, but.
One of the things that I like about this community development is business development would fall under that as
Mhm.
well. And I know you've been working on that in different ways. It just opens a whole nother door of opportunity for the county. Which also helps sell those subdivided lots that we already have so many of. Could you, also, with this, redo your job description under community developer? I know you started that,
Certainly.
if not finished it, and put down, you're the expert on what you do. What do you do?
Okay.
All right,
Certainly,
thank you.
you're welcome.
And you know, maybe we should just have a discussion with, Ron, the next update on the fees. Just start a dialogue and see where that takes us. Just my
Okay.
thoughts. I know we already have, but, it really should come from the planning board as far as an official proposal. Well, maybe it's up to the planning board, never mind. It's up to the planning board to bring that forward. I shouldn't tell them what to do.
Well, we're having a planning board meeting next Wednesday, and so I can, I'm sorry, this Wednesday, sorry, Monday. Wednesday this week, and so I can just, bring it up as items for discussion.
Okay.
We
I
can
think
talk about
they'll, excuse me, I think until decision of funding for that department's made, their hands are tied. Because that's at the conversations at the planning board that it just goes around and round. Yes, we'd like to do this, but until there's a decision or some plan for the budgeting or the funding of that department, there's nothing you can really do yet.
You hate to cut funding with the hope that there'll be funding somewhere else.
Right, and we're
I
not
understand
talking
that.
big developers, we're talking, people that come in and say, oh, I'm thinking about cutting 5 acres off. So you don't have a lot of them. So I don't think there's going to be a influx of, oh, let's all subdivide now if the fees are lower. I mean, the need, it is a deciding factor on some, but I think if they cut the fees as minimal as they're coming in, it would hurt the planning department.
more so in the long run. Well, and because our base fees are $1,500 and $100 per lot. So if you're a big developer, $1,500, plus that 100 per lot, that's no big deal. If you're a mom and pop developer that's looking at doing 2 lots and all of a sudden it's $1,700 just, without the road or a sanitarian or, hiring a surveyor or any of those things, that's a lot of money. But if you're looking at doing, 4 lots, that's not that bad. And so I think it's relative to the type of
Mhm.
developer that we're seeing. We are seeing these mom and pop developers, these, 1, 2, maybe 3 lot subdivisions, but nothing like we were before. And those are the ones that those high fees are affecting. But, so if we cut it, I don't know, yeah, it's a difficult, balance to try and find. If we had a lot of money available, I think right now I've got, as far as cash, $29,000. That's what I have to run my budget off of next year. So that might be the last year. I don't know.
And I think we're obligated by law to have planning.
I like it here. I'm not gonna volunteer though. I'm just telling you. I'm just kidding. You're all wonderful people.
I think I've been, in conversation saying planning and community development. I do think that your request is a good one for the name change. It's a better fit.
Makes sense.
It does, yeah.
It seems to sort of have that umbrella of everything that's happening anyway, but instead of, explaining what I do.
And it's better for the public.
I think so too. It gives them a better understanding of
The why.
why, exactly. It just seems a little more helpful,
Mm-hmm.
a little more user-friendly, so. That's that. So I guess not really any motion, just, I was just looking for just conversation today on that,
Okay.
so.
I'd be willing to make that motion, when we get further into the budget
Okay,
and get the job description with the new title
perfect,
and your
okay,
new title changed to it.
okay,
Yeah, I think that's an easy one.
thank you. And with that too, along the lines of this community development and, just as a point of reference, I have a bill here from Broadwater Reporter for $12. I realize it's only $12, but it was for the Copper City Road closure, legal notice. So I posted that notice, that's not necessarily, that wasn't necessarily planning, could be community development, road closures. So I don't mind paying this $12 out of planning because it's only $12, but I just wanted to bring that up, that, things like that Copper City Road closure, that's not necessarily planning, and I'm not saying that's not in my job description. I'm just saying that's not necessarily fitting with planning subdivision, because road closures are not really subdivision. That might have fallen under road, I don't know, I was willing to do it, I will still do it in the future. But so there again, just another reason why I think community development would fit better. So issues like this, I could say, with certainty, yes, that is my problem, I will find a solution, instead of, maybe overstepping my bounds on some of these issues, so.
It also raises a question on should it be subdivision fees
Right,
that have been, or GIS that's been funding your department going to road closures.
mm-hmm,
That's not quite as clear a line.
Right.
So, yeah, we have to evaluate that.
mm-hmm. exactly, yeah, because, the planning board is fine now, but, as far as, paying for these things. But the planning board might not be so happy if their budget continues to fund things of this nature, and then we don't have a planning department, or you're stressing about money, for training or something else, so.
I would like to request that that bill be submitted to the commissioners to be paid from, at this point, for the contingency fund, just to keep that clarity,
Okay.
because you don't have funds.
I didn't fill in the fund item
That
or anything,
come
that is
into
in the
that.
bill and the legal notice. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, kind of falling behind a little bit.
Hey, I'll talk quicker.
With your-
We have a motion with no second.
The community development motion,
The motion to pay this bill from the Commissioner's contingency fund.
Second,
I wasn't actually making that a motion
weren't you?
because that's already in our fund.
Oh, okay.
But if that would be better, I'd be happy to. How about we make it a motion, just for,
Okay.
again, for clarity? So move.
second.
Okay, got a motion. And seconded to pay the reporter the $12 fee, take out of the contingency fund.
From the commissioners.
From the Commissioner Fund, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Super. All right, my last item here, quickly, these football field lights. I owe you an explanation, I believe, on why you're paying a bill of $1,000 to the school for football field lights. Back in, I believe this is September 20th, 2014, the Broadwater High School had a surplus sale. The Broadwater County Parks and Rec Board was interested in purchasing the old lights from the football field at the surplus sale. It was on a Saturday. Beth Eiley, a Parks and Rec Board member, went down, and they didn't really have a formal way of submitting bids, so you've got this that looks like a ransom letter from Beth saying that that the Parks and Rec Board is interested in the lights. This was our bid for the football field lights. I talked to the commission about this back in September, that we had bid on them and we were successful in it. I just didn't pay the bill until I was sure that we were going to, I realized we were still obligated to pay it, but until I had a way of moving the lights. So, on June 6th, there were 44 lineman apprentices that came and donated their time to remove those lights from the football field. Badger Materials donated all of the gravel, and we're also donating the land for the storage of these lights. These lights are being stored on Badger Materials property, my property, just outside of town. They don't have to stay there. It just was a good place to put them. I'm not assuming any ownership or liability of these lights. We just had a nice big open field there to store these football field lights until we have a location for these lights. And I shouldn't actually refer to them as football field lights. They could be used for anything. It was $1,000 to purchase the lights. I spent $360 on sandwiches for the lineman apprentices out of the Parks and Rec fund. The $1,000 was also spent out of the Parks and Rec fund. That fund is created through subdivision. No taxes are paid into that fund. Again, a finite amount of money in there. So that's what this bill is, for $1,000 for football field lights. They could be used, again, for anything that the county wants. It would just, funds would have to be transferred to Parks and Rec if another department wanted them. But, again, a little bit of a chicken and egg. We don't have the field established yet, but we knew that these lights had to be bid on and purchased in September when they had the surplus sale, and also when we had volunteers willing to come and remove that. They said that project would have cost us, if we had to write a check, well over $100,000. And we did it for $1,360. No, I take that back, $1,407, because we spent $47 on chips and water. But all out of Parks and Rec funds, not taxes. So,
Wow.
yeah, great. It was a really great, really great opportunity for us to be able to work with those folks.
And how many lights are there?
There are 8, I believe. Yeah, 3, and 2. So. Did you have any other questions on those? Can I give this to you for signature, hopefully?
Yes, I appreciate the explanation
Yes.
very much. That did come up at the city council, and it was a pleasure to be able to share what information you had shared with me. And I hope it'll be maybe a news flash, because there were some questions from the city council, and I think it would really be beneficial for them to hear what your explanation was to the commission today,
So
so.
we have no place to put these lights in the ground right now. That's why they're being stored up there, so. That's,
And it was a heck of a deal.
it was a great deal, and it just was the opportunity. Tim Newman actually runs this training school, former Broadwater County resident, and he said, I can do it June 6th, or I can do it next June. And I thought, you know what, we have to pay for them, the school wants them out before the end of the year. Get in there and do it, even though we don't have, a field to put them in place yet, we certainly have property to store them on. So, Mike Delger constructed some sort of, I don't know, I'm sure there's a better name for it, but, shelving system for them, so they're protected up there, so. And if anybody wants to go look at it, go look at them, you can.
We should
them if you
review
want
with
to.
Julie that they're covered by
Yeah.
insurance, Julie, Superior,
Oh, sure, okay,
yeah,
perfect.
yeah. But thank you for
Oh, you're
that. Not only doing it, but the explanation, both.
No problem. Maybe I'll have to come back. Transfer of property, I have a company that's looking to do some transfer of property with the county, but I feel like that should be an agenda item. So maybe I'll come back.
You're gonna check on this insurance then?
I will, yep, I'll talk with Julie Superior, is that,
Yeah, because, anything could happen, fire, or
yeah, certainly.
anything could happen to them.
And I don't know if it helps, but of course our public meeting, search and rescue brought out that because they don't have any storage space, their equipment is stored at personal homes
Mhm.
throughout the county, so,
Mhm.
I don't know if that'll come up in your conversation,
Oh,
but
okay,
you're
yeah,
not the
that's true.
only,
Yeah,
Parks
it's not
and
the
Rec
first
isn't
time,
the only
you know,
one.
You make do with what you have, and, when people are willing to step up and do these things, I think we
Absolutely,
shouldn't be punished.
right.
Super, thank you.
Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole.
Switch spots for a second.
Okay. Mike Myers, Warehouse Maintenance Commissioners.
I'm surprised they were here.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me here.
I thought maybe you'd be,
No, I'll be here all week, mostly. Anyways, going to the windows. On the windows, I also got a price for vinyl. And the first price I gave you was the steel to match these windows out here. And windows are about half the cost for vinyl windows. So it's your choice whether you'd wanna do steel to match the remodel on the outside, or we just go with like how they have it right now. They have a white vinyl on the outside with a wood on the inside, but it would be all vinyl windows all the way throughout. So they'd still be white like they are now, not matching the. Now you got a price for both of them. The vinyl windows was $9,587.94, which actually I think is a pretty good deal for amount of windows. The door was almost, two different companies, and the door was almost identical. Within $100 of each other on the new front door.
and what's the story on the door? I wasn't here that day.
Well, the problem with the door is if you read about it, what's happening is all the cold air just constantly comes in. Even when it gets really hot out, all the hot air comes in. So that, Corcoran Recorders gets hit the hardest. The AC, the air conditioning unit is really running hard to keep up with it. The HVAC for the heat. What happens is if you walk through, and before you can even make it through the next door, you're holding both doors open as you're going through. And so they just get a big flush of cold air. Well, you felt it down here sometimes before when the middle of winter, the wind just blows right down through here. And Corcoran Recorders gets it pretty good. And then it would help the energy cost savings if I put a new front door in. Probably quite a bit. I think that's where your biggest savings will be, is that front door.
And you'll fix that 2 doors open at the same time
Yeah, we're gonna move it out. Move it out about 4 feet, so you have a 6-foot buffer. Because you're supposed to have right around 6 feet between door to door, so you have time for one door to close before you're opening another door, so you have that climate change in there. So you're not just, because when you're doing that and you're opening your second door, all the air just, it just flows right through, and it just rushes in.
Makes sense.
So the far inside doors will stay.
Far
like
inside,
they are.
yeah, far inside doors will stay right where they are, and then we just move the outside door out further, out to where the metal beam is underneath there, and then move the light, put a new light on the outside underneath the Broadwater County sign. Cause there's already a hole there for, it looks like we're gonna do a light once underneath the Broadwater County sign.
That's gonna be just one door, or is it gonna be a double door
It'll
also?
be a double door. It'll be a double door again.
And what did you say the price would be, Mike?
On the one door company from Frontline Glass was $5,900. Remove existing wood door and install the new bronze aluminum door. And from Custom Overhead Door, same thing, bronze front installed door, remove the old one for $6,132.08.
Pretty close, and
Yeah, they're real
Pretty
close. And I think it's gonna come down to, Frontline's supposed to give me another price on the, their vinyl windows. And I won't have that until first next week. So I think they're gonna be pretty comparable.
I have a question. You said either vinyl or steel to match what's up there now, so what would that price be?
The steel to match it was $18,304. That's a pretty big difference. $9,587 for vinyl and $18,304 for steel windows.
Just about double.
Yeah, just about double. Me, I'd probably go with the vinyl. I mean, we already have that look on the courthouse. I don't think it would matter much to change it to make it match.
I think vinyl is the better choice as well. I will move that we, go with vinyl windows and allow you to go ahead and choose, if the prices are comparable, who you wanna work with
Okay.
for both the windows and the front door project.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so moved and second, to go along with the vinyl windows. Now, we're just talking about windows, or you wanna add the door to it too?
I did add the door
Oh, okay, I
project.
guess I'm
Yeah.
missing it. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
I think you'll have a big savings on the door. The windows, there's always a long-term payback, but you'll have savings on that too.
Okay, quick question, that window in that vault.
We're gonna block that off.
Block that off?
Yep.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we're gonna block both of them off.
Yeah, I guess
In the
it was two
crook in
of
the
them.
corner, so we're just gonna make it dark in there. They'll have to be like vampires, or if their light goes out, we'll put braille on the doors so they go out.
Is that safety?
No. Just close
Do you
them.
need to go through the safety committee?
Yeah. So no, we're gonna make some changes too in their money vault. I'm gonna go ahead and put in, this fall, try to put in a block between the downstairs and upstairs so that they're not freezing to death in there. And also, I'm gonna still insulate the front of the, door, their window. I'm gonna insulate that.
What
Yeah.
about the vault upstairs? Are you gonna block it?
Yeah, we can block that one too out. But that one there, they never really, they leave it closed almost all the time.
That's true.
That's their recording, or just their file record room.
Mm-hmm.
The public doesn't really access it. In fact, I don't think the public can access it. The only person that goes in there is Val or Audrey. Because the file room that the public accesses the one where all the records are on that one side, and then you guys use
The
it.
treasure one is
Yeah.
used all day, not by
Yeah.
the public, but it is used all day.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I'd like to do is I'm gonna start painting the outside, is maybe try to start replacing some chunks of the concrete, if that's good with you guys. To kind of get rid of some, especially this out back here. I'll have to do it probably on a Saturday so that I don't block off the public, cause that's the only handicap access we have.
Right.
If that's okay with you guys, to start replacing some of it.
I think it needs it.
Yeah, I will move to allow Mike to move forward with replacing the concrete that needs attention on the courthouse campus.
Okay. And I'll find some help, few people.
I'll second that motion.
Move second, might go ahead with, some sidewalk repair, I guess we would call it,
Yeah.
removal and
Yeah, remove it.
new install. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Motion passed. And that's the part where it's putting the water in against the building.
Yeah, that, and then this back with the tripping area, especially this tripping area back here.
Out in front, that one there, is it settled? I think we talked about it last time. Is it settled back down even or out there through the summer now?
Yeah, it has. There's a big, the one heaves right out there by the main, where you first come in.
Right.
It heaves up every winter, and it kind of, I notice it because when I run the snow shovel across it, it always catches,
Mhm.
whacks you right in the chest or something, but right now it's flattened out. But yeah, if they would've just poured everything with this concrete, with a rock base, we wouldn't have all these problems.
That one there, should a person, or maybe, I don't believe there is, there's you put a yellow stripe on kind of a little.
There
ring
was
stripe.
one, yeah.
There is one there.
There is, it's kind of faded right now,
Okay.
but yeah, there is one right there. But it's faded out pretty good. We could repaint that too. I have the concrete paint for that. But we could do that. You have to do it now, because in a few months actually, we're in summer right now, but we're not that far away from not being able to do things outside
Mhm.
still. I mean,
You're right. I wonder if a person could grind that.
yeah,
It kind of depends every year how much it's gonna raise and how, I know some years they raise a lot from
Yeah.
different sections of town, not necessarily this one here alone. But it might be that a person could, and you could do that in the winter, grind it.
yeah, you can do that in the winter. It's too bad they just get into a 6 to 12 inch rock base underneath everything. You wouldn't have that. It's kind of like what I did out back here on that sidewalk. I put in a 9 to 12 inch rock base underneath it, so it won't heave. It has the room for the water to flow out. And we have all these expensive soils.
That's the only one that, in this front part, isn't it?
In the front part, that one, and then the center between the two walkways does it in the winter. It heaves up pretty good. But, nobody really walks that often. So, I was hoping to replace some of that too this year if I can get to it in time. This back line needs the attention right now.
Would grinding take care of the other one, or is this sloped the wrong way too?
Which one?
The one you're
Oh, the
just
one in the front here? No, that's the one that has the big heave in the center that's all busted up, the cracks. And also that metal plate that goes across.
Oh,
We can run a pipe underneath it to get rid of that metal plate, so it's one solid walk all the way across. The concrete really isn't that expensive. I can probably do all that front walk in the back. The front walk probably less than about $500. That's with ripping it out and replacing it. And I need to do the front anyways, because if we put that door in, I gotta expand that, step out.
Or the landing.
Yeah. I gotta expand this, I gotta bring the landing out about 3 feet. Out into it. That'd be a good time to do it, is replace that front, and if there's anything else you see out there that can be replaced, this would be the time to do it. If we wanna replace that one chunk, they're easy to pull out. There's no rebar, there's no wire mesh and anything, so they just pop right out of there.
Why was there no rebar?
A lot of commercial does that. They just don't do it so they can remove it if they have to dig it, like the city has to dig a water line ditch or something like that. They don't put any rebar in, so they don't have to cut through it. I think they're supposed to, but a lot of times they don't.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Plus, these were poured a long time ago. I think they were repoured once, if I'm not my understanding. I don't know the year, you might know the year. Now it was
I don't either.
You remember?
I know, 'cause I removed the old concrete, I don't remember who did at that time, but I took the old concrete out and hauled it out that time, but that's when,
Was it just the sidewalks, or was it the walks coming out?
I think it was the main sidewalk.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
So they didn't do the walks coming out, so those were a long time ago.
Yeah, I know, yeah, I'm sure it wasn't that, it was the main,
Yeah.
east and west.
Okay. That's all I had.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Please have a good day.
You too.
What time is that? 11:15. Usually he's right on time, maybe.
I'm Mike Conkey today.
Oh, are you, oh, he isn't gonna be here?
No,
Oh.
no, he had another meeting in Helena, so I'm here
Oh.
representing DES.
Okay, Mike and Nicole. Mike versus Nicole, how are you?
I understand you folks had the interviews on Monday.
Right.
I was unable to be here, so from that discussion, you made your decision.
Right.
I will move that we hire Tetra Tech, as per the interview committee's recommendation, to do the pre-disaster mitigation consulting work of writing our pre-disaster mitigation plan.
So why did you do that? What made them better than the others?
The interviews were open door because they were not individuals, they had no rights to privacy to be protected. But both were excellent, we'd be in good hands with both. It was a scoring system that we used, and 100% of the people in the interviewing, which was Julie, Mike, myself, Franklin, it was just the four of us, scored Tetra Tech higher than Respect. We each had different reasons, I don't have my notes, and I didn't take notes of Julie or Mike's reasons for that, and I don't recall any of Franklin's, he didn't share any of his, but we just felt that Tetra Tech did just slightly better for our purposes.
The one
It was
convincing
unanimous.
thing, I think, was, Mike had talked with Paul Spangler. And, I think there was another person in Helena, and they didn't say anything against, Respect or anything, but they had a lot of good experience with, Tetra Crack. It's pronounced right. And so that was, I think, a strong factor in the decision.
Okay, I was just curious, I mean, no feeling one way or the other.
Yeah,
Just-
it was
so I
hard,
just
that
know.
was, mhm.
I just have a question. TEXTRA?
TETRA,
TETRA.
capital TECH, Tetra Tech.
Right.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay. It's been made. Motion made and seconded, the word is contractor, Tetra Tech, as the reasons stated, so stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thanks, Nicole, you did a good job.
Hey, thank you.
Now Mike usually brings us cookies, where are they?
Right, I have nothing.
Oh,
See,
oh,
Paperwork, that's all I brought you today.
No, I'm just kidding you.
However, if I did bring them, it would be okay, right? Can I ask a question? Are we in public time yet, or
Go
open
ahead.
time? Sorry, I'm not meaning to take up anyone else's time. I have a potential developer who is looking at doing a land swap with the county. Would you like me to make that an agenda item for motion? Do you wanna talk about it now? I'm not really sure what's the best way to move forward on this, because it's a potential company, a potential land swap, so I kind of want you to be thinking about it, but I don't know that you can make a decision right now because they're not actually requesting it.
Okay,
we
well, I
could
would,
make a decision in concept.
Mhm.
You know, if it's one of those, how does the commission feel about providing fire protection and safety for its citizens?
Right,
Well, we don't have a specific, but we can certainly tell you that our record has been to provide safety and fire protection for our citizens. So, without any specifics, we could certainly give you an in-concept thought. That would help you moving forward.
you know, it would, because it may make a difference on whether or not this development company comes here. So I would like to be able to provide them with a response from the commissioners in concept, not saying that, oh, yep, great, we will definitely do that if you come here, but to say,
we're ready to listen,
Right.
let's put it that way.
yeah, that this is not an absolute no. Because if it's an absolute no, that may be a deal breaker for them. So,
And if the land swap is of economic or health benefit to the county and the citizens, then we have a record of working on that. The silos
mhm.
is a great example. The BOR project that we're working on that with the city is another great example. So, you know, if you wanna take this to them, as far as this commissioner, if it benefits the citizens
Okay,
for, health, recreation, economic value, then absolutely I would be willing to entertain with interest, a proposal that anyone would bring forward.
I have to agree with that.
perfect, okay.
Where are they looking at? What can you say?
No, yeah, the old Reagan, or still Reagan
Oh, okay.
property, but not in the floodplain.
Okay.
I have a letter from them, if you're interested in seeing what they're talking about.
Well, you've heard from two commissioners, I think,
Okay.
you know, you should hear from the third as far as, his stance for the record.
I'm ready to hear what's taking place.
Is now a good
Or
time?
the
I guess
want
that was
is.
really my question, is now a good time, or would you prefer I got on the agenda? I'm not looking for a motion, I just.
We don't have anything
Okay.
solid to work with, so my opinion is now's a good
Yeah,
time.
if you
All right.
don't, your decision whatsoever.
I don't wanna abuse my hour of commission time today.
Well, it is the Nicole Day,
Sorry,
so.
sorry. So what I've got, and I didn't print off any maps, but I'll show you on here, this is a small map that this development company, I guess I can tell you, this is a solar development company. They are looking at solar panels. Very, very low maintenance, very, very easy for the county. So here is Road Shop right here. This is North Cedar, I'm sorry, that's the highway. Where is the Cedar? I lied to you. This is the Broadwater Ford. We're over here. This is the Road Shop, right in here.
Oh, okay.
So they are looking at all of this property right here. Reagan's property,
Mhm.
just north of town.
Yeah.
Here's Centerville Road.
You're right.
All of this, basically where the tree line follows, kind of goes like this,
Mhm.
is floodplain. All of this is out of the floodplain. This square up here is the county property, was referred to as the poor farm. They want this piece in yellow. They will give us all of this if we give them that. So acreage wise, we're talking a land swap. We would give them 6 acres, they would give us 96.
And you,
Such a deal, huh?
yeah, and your Parks and Rec Board is talking about some kind of a recreational facility, which translates to better health for our families, kids, adults, seniors.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, I ran a 5K here in town, last year. Centerville Road was the road that we
Mhm.
ran, a path that would connect with the one that we already have on Highway 12, 287, would be a heck of a lot safer
Would
than
be so
bringing
much safer.
kids on Centerville.
Yep,
With
you know,
those
people,
birds.
we've heard, Parks and Rec have heard, and I know individuals have heard, I'm sure this board has heard, that path out to the ponds is wonderful. You just have to turn around and take it back. No big deal. It would be really nice to have some sort of loop trail system. So with this all being floodplain, or most of it that they would be giving us would be in floodplain, we couldn't build any structures on it anyway, neither could they, but we could certainly use it for trails, possibly a ball field, because that's not requiring any structures. You know, so this property really could be utilized a lot by Parks and Rec. Not really by any other, part of the county. I guess Dana might be able to use it for gravel storage. You could store his gravel piles on there because, again, no structure. But it would have to stay pretty much vacant land, as far as that's concerned, because of the floodplain, unless we had gotten an exemption, but that's a long ways down the road if we ever decide to do that. So, anyway, in theory, I guess I just would like to know how the commission feels about it, if they would support this type of land swap. We're not doing anything with this property up here presently anyway. If we would be willing to swap 6 acres for 96 acres, it would encourage this company to move here to Broadwater County, and we would gain a sizable amount of recreational property. I say recreational, but I don't mean it just recreational, but it couldn't be used for structures.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, tying in what some of the city council members had on their property, if this so went through, that solves their problem. But maybe not in time to make a decision, or?
Well, their decision has nothing to do with the ballpark. So this would give Mike specifically, peace of mind. But it's not part of the decision, so it really is, it's related only because he has a passion for this particular subject. And to be respectful of that passion, this is a great opportunity for building relationships, building partnerships with the city. But it's just not part of the discussion at hand, so. So again, this commissioner would support that.
Right.
So what is this one?
Okay.
I mean, it's a no-brainer, number one. 6 for 96? Let me think here a minute. And we're not using it.
We're not using it. Yep, we're not using it
I mean,
anyway.
it's vacant land.
And if it could entice a business to move here to the county, I think that that's a really good opportunity. Another caveat, I suppose, to that I think is also very beneficial. This company would be willing to donate $10,000 to the Parks and Rec Board also.
There you go.
So, not only are they donating the land, and it wouldn't be Parks and Rec property, it would be county property, but the $10,000 they would like to earmark to Parks and Rec Fund. So I think that's also shows really good graces on their part moving in here. They understand, I've had a conversation with the consultant on this project and, kind of told him where the county is on this, where Parks and Rec is on this, and so.
Where's their home base?
Oregon.
I just
I'm sorry,
wanted-
this is Santa Monica, California is where this is from. The consultant I've been meeting with is out of Oregon. There's also a consultant out of Helena. But the main consultant is out of Oregon. The company is out of Santa Monica, California.
Tell them, come on down.
That's what I thought.
I think it's in our best interest and interest of the public. Anything we can do to help improve the county, it's our job to do it.
Exactly.
And for the record, we both stated our support, prior to hearing about the $10,000 donation.
Yes.
That is totally separate. If anybody wants to make a donation to Parks and Rec, they certainly may do so, but that would have absolutely no bearing on our willingness to support, economic development and, recreational and health development for the community.
Did you have any thoughts on this?
No, I like I said, I'd like to hear more information on it, the basic part sounds okay.
Certainly, and that's not what I'm looking for today. I'm not looking for you to say, yes, definitely, come on in and we'll sign the deed and transfer property now. I just would like to be able to go back to this company and say, yes, my commission fully supports this in concept for these reasons. So, and of course, if indeed they did decide to purchase the property, they haven't even purchased it yet. They're in discussions right now, negotiations, and purchasing it, but.
I'm kind of skeptical of some of the big development. They have these big plans, and stuff, but And it might be good legitimate outfit, you know.
But yeah, in concept, if we gain 90 acres, you know, we're giving them 6 and they're giving us 96 that we can use for county property.
Right.
I just want a clear title to the land.
Exactly. We're not going to
No funny
put
stuff.
anything out there now. Okay, well, good. Thank you for letting me chat about that.
Okay, well, keep us
Thanks.
informed.
Okay, I will.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Nicole.
How's Dad doing?
Really good. He headed back yesterday. He came home for Father's Day because none of his offspring could make it to him. So he headed back yesterday and
Are we hearing any words about when we get to do this?
no, nothing.
It'll be a spur of the
It
moment.
will definitely be a spur of the moment, yeah. I'm kind of waiting with bated breath, so I guess along those lines too, it will be a spur of the moment thing when I leave here. You'll probably get a quick email from me from the road or something. that
I'm out of here.
I'm on my way, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.